In today's video, we will be covering June 2023 Paper 2 O-Level Biology Variant 2. So in the first question, they asked the relative concentrations of the three different gases, oxygen, CO2, and nitrogen. So the concentration of oxygen is 4%, the concentration of CO2 is 0.04%, and the concentration of nitrogen in the environment is about 78%. So in the second part, they basically say that there is been packing done around in a container which contains some food. So obviously the packing has been done so that in a process to reduce the decomposition of food. So which gas would we have to decrease in concentration or increase in concentration? So the answer is that we will decrease oxygen and increase carbon dioxide and nitrogen in order to slow decomposition since bacteria will rapidly use oxygen, and in the presence of low amount of oxygen they will not be able to decompose easily. Now we will be have to explain the changes that will slow down decomposition. I just told you that by reducing oxygen and moisture in the container we will be able to reduce the decomposition process which is occurring inside. And if they've asked us why this change occurs, it is because bacteria also use this oxygen for respiration and use for energy to help to break down the food. Now, the two advantages of slowing down are firstly that we will be able to recycle the same food and it will be better for the environment. Secondly, there will be more sustainability and efficiency as the food will be able to survive for a longer time. Now, in question two, they ask the process of physical digestion in humans. So we will have to start off with the mechanical digestion, which occurs in the human mouth, which is the chewing and grinding of food by the human teeth and rolling it into a form of a bolus by the human tongue. What is the significance of chewing is it is that it increases the surface area for the chemical digestion helps to which occurs mainly by the salivary amylase present in the mouth and secondly by the enzymes which are present in the alimentary tract in the human body. The name of the chemical is present in the stomach that kills is HCl hydrochloric acid. The organisms that cause they've said the term what are the organisms that cause disease. All such organisms are called pathogens. Now the type of immunity which type of immunity is gained after infection? The type of immunity gained is active immunity by organisms, whereas the other form of immunity, passive immunity, is obtained by after the intake of antibodies. Now they've asked us how active immunity works. So you need to know that this is a long-term immunity in which basically they've given us an example of yellow fever. So obviously we won't give a live virus because it will cause the disease. So we will give an actually a weakened or a dead form of the virus, so that when the virus enters, the body will be able to recognize it as a foreign material. And remember the important point that I'm saying that they will form memory cells. These memory cells will recognize these antigens and form antibodies against them, and which will act extremely rapidly the next time the virus actually basically enters the body. The two types of nervous system, this is the CNS as this represents the brain and the spinal cord. This is the peripheral nervous system as it basically goes to all other parts of the body, the hands, the feet, and the trunk. The junction, this form of junction is known as a synapse, and this is because the predominant distinguishing feature is the presence of the synaptic cleft. The synaptic cleft shows a gap junction in between by which these molecules can easily diffuse from one neuron to another, and the direction in which the impulse will travel is from here to here. Obviously, this is the presynaptic membrane, this is the postsynaptic membrane, so they will just diffuse along. Now this in number three, this is a physics calculation. Micrometer means 10 power minus 6. So we'll just eliminate all the other zeros which are written here and right for 0.3. I will tend to skip the mathematical portion of this of the paper because it is time taking, and I want you to be able to revise the essential concepts within a span of very few minutes. Now, they ask the effect of nicotine, and they say that it has a similar shape to the molecule of the neurotransmitter. So, as we all know, that nicotine will basically bind to the postsynaptic membrane, and it will enhance the effect of the original stimulus which is being given. This will lead to the generation of a nerve impulse which will be able to transfer between the two neurons. Thus, an effector action would be produced. Now, the effect of untreated sewage on the lake ecosystem. You need to know that by basically passing untreated sewage in the lake ecosystem, there will be excessive water pollution, and this water pollution will lead to eventually blocking the sunlight for the plants to be able to carry out the process of photosynthesis, as well as severe decomposition will occur by the various algae which are present in the aquatic system. This will lead to the severe decrease in oxygen and increase in carbon dioxide and nitrogen. This entire process is known as eutrophication, because in eutrophication there is increased amounts of, basically, for example, the untreated sewage could contain increasing amounts of fertilizer from the factories nearby, and thus it would have large amounts of nitrates and phosphates. Thus the algae would be able to grow in and block the sunlight of the plants, so the plants would eventually die. And as the plants are the producers for the rest of the organisms which reside in the lake, the rest of the carnivorous organisms, the herbivorous organisms, which include the animals which feed on the plant, would also die, and thus the entire food cycle would be disrupted. These are all questions by which we have to take interpretations from the graph. So now I'll come to the this part in which they've asked us how natural selection have caused these changes to occur. So we have to have a basic concept of what natural selection is. Natural selection is the survival of the fittest, in which the genes which are better suited to the environment are obtained by the resultant offspring, and the natural selection only occurs by the process of mutations. So, in the case of the stickleback, how has it been able to protect from predators, that it has such adaptations in its natural body? You've seen that there are, over the period of time, in different basically the environments, there are different number of armor plates protect it from the predator. So the greater the number of armor plates, the better the stickleback is means protected against the predator, and thus greater is its population. This part we just have to tell which is which. So K is the xylem, which is present inside in the shape, and J is the phloem. Now we will have to tell what is L. L is basically the combination of this xylem and phloem. It is the cell root. How K differs from J? We all know that xylem is key in. Xylem is basically a dead tissue. It has been lignified to just provide the plant a structural support and help to transfer water and mineral salts. However, is completely different from its. The phloem functions from a source to a sink. It supplies sucrose and amino acids. It is a living material, and it has other components as well. The phloem has sap in it, and it has various other components, because the sucrose and amino acids which are transferred help to carry out the process of photosynthesis and protein synthesis. I've just outlined the function of tissue G while describing the function differences between the two. The type of response shown when a plant root give when it goes down into soil after the seed has germinated. This is known as phototropism. Tropism means a specific direction of movement by a plant towards a specific direction. How this response shown is necessary for the to grow and to begin. We know that the color green is because of the pigment chlorophyll, and chlorophyll is necessary for photosynthesis to occur. And chlorophyll is made up of magnesium ions. So if it is necessary for them to appear green so that the plant can carry out photosynthesis when light falls on them and make food. The graphs are just an interpretation of the values, and it will take time to measure them. So I'll skip these. Now the name of the product made is photo glucose, which is made up of photosynthesis. Now the future role of carbohydrates, and this uses carbohydrates are used in are basically stored in plants in the form of starch. The principal carbohydrate made is glucose. Glucose is used for respiration. Glucose is used to synthesize protein. Glucose is used to is also converted into amino acids. Amino acids in the process of assimilation of food. Glucose is used in the process various processes of active transport which occur in the plant. For example, in the root hair cell of the plant, we just have to fill in the blanks. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and phosphorus are the two remaining elements to form a double helix. Each strand is made up of a chain of nucleotides, at thymine with adenine, thymine, and guanine with cytosine. How genetic modification helps to change the function of enzyme. So the enzyme has a three-dimensional structure, and all enzymes are made up of proteins. So we know that the active site is always located on the enzyme. By genetic mutations, there are different types of amino acids involved. So it changes the amino acid chain and thus changes the basically the fundamental structure of the enzyme. So the enzyme has a different active site and it can thus bind to a different substrate, which is the key. The lock and key model states that the different enzyme can bind to a different substrate or key. Thank you. We'll just finish off our video on O levels biology paper 2 over here.